Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I missed it with the camera coming down here because, well, let me turn it just a bit. There was deer right about there where the creek goes around the bend there when I just came down here. But of course it wasn't camera ready. So you missed it. Man, the weather. It's really windy right now, but we're supposed to hit a record high today. In the mid 80s, record high, breaking records, did the same thing yesterday. And why that even is mentioned by me is that it was about a week and a half ago I was making a video talking about how we hit a record low. That we were down in the teens, it was a record low. That's the Ozarks, folks. I mean, a lot of people that come here, and since I've been making these videos and encouraging people to get out of Babylon, come out of her, my people, since I've been telling people, I can pretty much know for certain there's been 100 families that's moved in the greater area here, and probably a lot more. And it's interesting talking to some of them. The weather here is so weird. It's so weird. And I said, yeah, it's just, you never know what it's going to do. It could change from moment to moment. Not that any of you probably really care about this, but I read once about the Ozarks weather, and if you look at the Ozarks on a map, we are literally the center of North America. We're the center of the United States. In fact, the city that's named the center of the United States isn't that far away from where we live. And because of that, we just kind of, all the weather patterns, all roads lead to Rome, all the weather patterns kind of lead here. And so it just depends on what day of the week it is, whether you're going to get sun and rain or snow and hot and it's crazy, but it's good. The Ozarks is an amazing place, and I'm telling you, folks, you need to be getting out of these cities of ill repute, and you don't have to move to the Ozarks. There's certainly a lot of other places around the country that you can get out of Babylon to, but the Ozarks is certainly one of the better ones. It's not perfect. No place is. And I was talking to someone the other day that some people they'll come here to visit, or they'll move here, or they'll look up information about here, and they're like, oh, well, there's crime in the Ozarks. Well, of course there's crime. There's crime anywhere. It's very low. It's not violent. It's usually some little tweaker druggy person against another druggy person, but it's still crime. I mean, that's the way it is anywhere. You find me a place in the country that's perfect, and you can't do it. But I would strongly encourage you to be getting out of these places, and the Ozarks is a good one. A lot of prepper minded, self-sufficient minded, good Bible believing, tons and tons of whole Bible believing people here that follow in the way. So it's a good place to go, and I hadn't planned on doing this little weird rant on moving out of the cities, but you need to think about it. I was looking the other day, or I think it was yesterday maybe. Do you know that China has bought record amounts of gold for 12 consecutive months now? They are buying gold in large amounts, and they're selling off United States debt. I've got a friend that is a executive at a bank. Have a couple of other friends that work deeper into a bank. They're not putting anyone down, but they're not tellers. They work in the back office and the higher up level. And they're telling me that banks are actively working to switch their systems over to central bank digital currencies. They're building the systems to prepare for that. One bank executive that I spoke with, not with him directly, but with someone, an associate that works with him, was telling me that this bank executive was saying that they believe that, my goodness, excuse me, they believe that over the next 6 to 12 months that we could see easily thousands of banks collapse in the United States. That if you look at the numbers, it's really hard right now to find good information because so much is focused on World War III scenarios, which very possibly could happen at any moment. I mean, things could shift very rapidly, but there's also other things going on in the world, right? And one of them is the whole, devaluation of our U.S. currency, the push for central bank digital currency, the push to consolidate banks down to 5 or 6 big banks. That is all definitely being done, and so this bank executive was saying that they believe that we could see thousands of banks fall in the next 6 to 12 months, because the intent is to take a lot of these small and mid-sized regional banks and consolidate them down to just the few big ones. That's not good for us, folks. We talk about, again, we talk about the World War III stuff, because it could happen. It could. I mean, we've been talking about that for almost 2 years now with Russia and Ukraine, and it hasn't happened yet. We talk about it with Israel and Gaza, and I feel very much more likely to happen through that scenario, but still it may not happen. But there's certain things that are going on out there that I think they're pretty much for certain. I would say that the odds of them happening are very, very near 100%. And one of them is the, de-dollarization, the central bank digital currency, the loss of much more of your worth, of your money, your currency, your ability to freely live and buy. And that's something that we can't ever forget. We've seen housing prices skyrocket even more. The numbers out there are just shocking of how much money now it takes. And we're talking only let's just start off from 2020. That seems to be a good starting point for a lot of things right now. But if you look at from 2020 till now, you need to make almost double the income to purchase the same house as you would in 2020. So if you were making $45,000 to $50,000 a year in 2020, and you were trying to purchase said house that you could qualify for, you would have to make around $100,000 now. And the numbers just show that all the way up. The amount of younger people that are saying that they believe that they will never be able to afford a house. If you look at the rent to income ratio, it's astronomical. And we all just, at least many people, are just trying to say that it's all normal, it's all okay. This is it's a transitory recovery, right? We've heard all these things, and we've heard this back and forth of, well, there could be a recession, or it could be a soft landing, or there may not be a recession, but I think there will be, but I think there won't be. And it just depends on what expert you believe and listen to. And my personal opinion is that this waffling back and forth and constant, just messing with your head is being done for purpose to distract you from the fact that we've been in a recession for a long time, and in a lot of ways could be very much in a depression. In fact, if you look at a lot of numbers now based and compare them to what happened during the Great Depression, early 1930s, people actually have less spending money, and their money has less purchasing power, and there has to be 2 or 3 jobs at least per household, sometimes more. Sometimes both the husband and the wife are working a couple of jobs just to make ends meet. And while things were tough back in the 1930s, it actually wasn't that tough. So it could actually be worse. And it's just like all the other stuff. They distract you, and they mess with your mind, the little psyops. There is no gender, right? Gender is fake. I saw something the other day that biological gender is just, it's fake. It's a psyop. Biological gender is a psyop. So the fact that I'm biologically a man, I was born that way, my chromosomes are that way, that my physical body is male, but that's fake. But this idea that I could be some kind of, unicorn of some sort, or male, female, Zinzi, whatever animal, that's not fake. See, that's the crazy 1984 messed up mind game psyop that we're living in. And I think they're doing that with a lot of things, and the economy is probably just one of them that's happening. Everything's okay. You can still go get your cafe latte, mocha, cappuccinos. You can, still do all that kind of stuff, buy a brand new car and pay over $1,000 a month for an automobile. that's all still available, so we must be fine, right? The economy must be great. Well, it's not. We all know that. And everyone feels it. Everyone feels it when they go to the grocery store and they buy $300 in groceries and they walk out with a couple of grocery bags. That's absurd. It wasn't that long ago that $300 in groceries you could hardly even fit into a grocery cart. And people just keep moving on like it's nothing because they're told that. And that's why we have to be awake to it. And that's why we have to be proactive against it. And one of the best ways to be proactive against it is to remove yourself from said system. And I know that sounds great and novel, but it's a lot harder than you think. You know, one of the ways that you have to be able to do that is to have the ability to produce your own. We have to stop being just consumers. We have to be producers also, producers of our own food, producers of our own things as much as possible. So circling back to what I started the video off, that's why I advocate moving to places like out here in the Ozarks, is because most of the time you can find a little piece of land and you don't need a whole lot. I mean, 5-10 acre minimum is usually will do it. That you can actually grow food and raise some chickens, maybe a few goats or a few sheep. You know, you don't have to be full production, ranch or anything. You just have to be able to produce some stuff. You have some space. You have space away from people, away from a lot of the evilness. I mean, there's still evil people out in the country, but not nearly in the concentration as there are in the city. I mean, I see these videos of what goes on in big cities, and I've never seen any of that out here in the country. In fact, it's the opposite. You know, most of the people you talk to will tell you that, you know, they'll arm up and do a whole new revolution militia if that kind of stuff decides to come out to this part of the country. So there's still good people, and it gets you away from all the wickedness, and then you're also able to start producing stuff. You're able to start, creating your own living, your own sustenance. For the most part, you may not be able to do everything, but you can do a whole lot more out here to be self-sufficient than you can in some apartment or townhouse elsewhere. And then the other big thing that's so important about, our survivability is finding a tribe, a community. That's what we're meant to be. I'm not talking about some hippy-dippy commune. I'm talking about that we were created to be communal people, right? That's how we were created to be. We weren't created to be off on our own, lone wolves. I'm not saying they can't exist. I'm just saying that's not how we were meant to be. We're meant to be together with others. And so finding that so that you can work together and ride out the end times together, it makes things a lot better, makes it easier. It makes it actually survivable. And so understanding all of this stuff, the gold prices and the gold sales and the central bank digital currencies and the banks failing and the prices, inflation just skyrocketing, it cracks me up. Inflation still cracks me up. Oh, it's only 3 or 4 or 5% inflation. Yeah, that's year over year. What is it since 2020? Since 2020, the average food inflation since 2020 is somewhere around 25-28%. Means you're paying at least a quarter more of your income, your budget in just food, and that's a really on the small end. It's probably over 30% on most items, and it's killing us, and it's taking away our wealth, it's taking away our freedom, it's making us more and more and more slaves to the system, which is exactly what they want. It's bringing us all down to the same level. It's not equality, it's this equity, right? Instead of lifting people up to help them grow, let's bring everyone down to the same level. And that's exactly what they're doing. And so one of the best ways to get out of that and to break those bonds of slavery in that way is to leave these places. And yeah, life out here isn't easy. Some people make it, some people can't handle it. They end up moving back to the city. They miss being able to order pizza delivery at 9 o'clock at night, They miss being able to go have spa days and just have, really good solid internet and things like that doesn't exist out here in the country. But there's a whole lot more benefits. And so while we see all of this stuff happening around the world and in your gut that it's all falling apart. You know that there's a collapse coming. You know that the world is becoming more and more wicked, more and more unstable. Well, one of the best things that you can do to protect yourself and your family is to get out of these highly concentrated places where there's just lots and lots of people. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that if there's a lot of people around you and things fall apart, then there's a much higher chance that some of those people are going to do bad things. You get out here where there's a whole lot less people, and even if there are a few that do bad things, that means that's a lot smaller number that you will have to worry about. And you'll have other people like you around you, and you'll be able to produce a lot of your own stuff just to stay alive. So it makes sense. Folks, not only do you need to be getting your house in order, you need to be coming out of her, my people, getting out of Babylon, and finding a place that you can find some refuge, running to the wilderness kind of thing. Yeah, I know, a lot of biblical things there, but most of you get it. Because this world is falling apart, and I believe very solidly it's being done for a purpose, and so you need to be getting ready with your house getting in order, and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually, because the coming times are going to get a lot worse, folks. That's not negative doomsday. It's just flat out reality. We're not going to get better for quite a while. Folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.